been on vacation, so who knows? Abby, are you ready to get started? Oh, I just wanted to wait and call. It's okay. I haven't called the meeting to order yet. Wow, everyone got quiet on their own.
Yes.
It's amazing. Normally I'm shouting, I'm calling the meeting to order. So you all get extra gold stars tonight. I didn't have to do that. Thank you all so much for being here. Tonight, Mrs. Abby Sanchez has the invocation and pledge.
Wow, it's like almost the first day of school when you walk in and all the kids are so quiet, and then it's totally different. So welcome back. First of all, I'd like to do a shout out to our wonderful faculty and staff, including our bus drivers and everybody. So I'm blessed to do the invocation today. And I brought this really cute survival kit with me that I used to pass out as a teacher, as a PTA member, to our guidance counselors and teachers and bus drivers. And this one actually came from our Seminole teacher teaching, what's it called? Oh my gosh, my phone's off. So our teacher, oh wow, I just went blank. Gift for Teaching, Seminole. And Becky Miller was passing these out with one of our volunteers who was a volunteer and a retired teacher. And she gave them out to all the new teachers as well. It's a teacher survival kit. A rubber band, and in this bag is all the little goodies. Rubber band to remind you to stay flexible. A marble to replace the ones that you've lost. Paper clip to hold everything together. Animal crackers when your room feels like a zoo. Tissues to dry the tears, yours and theirs. Band-aids when things get a little rough. An eraser because everyone makes mistakes. A shiny penny to remind you that each child shines in their own way, including you. A highlighter to highlight the positive. Tootsie Roll, sometimes you just need to roll with it. A crayon to color the days. A bubble wrap to release stress. And a lifesaver, because you are a lifesaver to so many children. Also, a starburst to give you that extra burst of energy. So with that, I would like to say, together, we can make a difference in all of our lives, in all of our students' lives, by working together and having a strong relationship. Thank you, and let's go ahead and stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sanchez. That was really cute. All right. Let the record reflect that all school board members are in attendance. Dr. Griffin, Mrs. Beeman, and our clerk, Ms. Moramus. Actually, all school board members are in attendance except for Mr. Bauer. Correction. Are there any? Steve Brown is here tonight from the Business Advisory Board. Where are you, Steve? Thank you so much for joining us and for all that you do. And Polly DeLucia from the Seminole County Council PTA. Thank you. Any other PTA members here this evening? Or SAC members? Oh, Andy Searles is also here from the Business Advisory Board. Where is Andy?
Right there.
Oh, hey, thank you so much for being here. Volunteers like you all make Seminole County truly a great place to serve alongside, so we appreciate all that you do. All right, any agenda modifications, Dr. Griffin?
There are two, Madam Chair. The addendum for good cause is marked on an electronic agenda by a green flag named addendum item.
And also, I need to pull item 2A, our Coach of the Year presentation, because our Coach of the Year cannot be here. So we'll save that for a future meeting.
All right, any modifications, Vice Chairman Calderon?
No, thank you.
All right, Mrs. Almond?
No, ma'am.
Mrs. Sanchez?
No, ma'am.
Don't either. That's good news. That means we had a lot of work done over the course of the last few days. All right, great. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda outline?
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, presentations.
We have lots of introductions. Let's head up front.
All right, well, Superintendent Griffin and school board members, we are proud to announce the newly redesigned SCPS website, www.scps.us, launched in January of 2017, has won a Golden Image Award in the Digital Tools category at the statewide 60th anniversary of the Florida Public Relations Association's Golden Image Awards banquet that was recently held at the Ritz-Carlton on August 8th. Created in 1957, the FPRA Golden Image Awards program celebrates excellence in the public relations field. Winners of this prestigious awards competition are selected from numerous statewide entries and demonstrate the very best examples of innovation, planning, and design. Earlier this year, SCPS and our web partner Solodev also won an award of distinction locally at the FPRA Orlando Chapter Image Awards banquet held in April. In addition, the SCPS website has also won the Amazon Web Services City on a Cloud Innovation Challenge in the Best Practices category, which includes a $50,000 Amazon Web Service credit. Last but not least, the new SCPS website has also won a Hermes Award, which is an international competition highlighting outstanding creative design.
Board members and guests would like to introduce one of our new administrators to Hamilton Elementary School. Would like to welcome Mr. Adrian Fuller Jr. Mr. Fuller is the new assistant principal. Go ahead. Mr. Fuller is the new assistant principal at Hamilton Elementary School. He is the proud graduate of Seminole County Public Schools, graduating from the IB program at Seminole High School. He is also a Florida State graduate, go Noles, as well as receiving his master's from the University of Central Florida. Mr. Fuller has served our students here in Seminole County as a behavior resource teacher, a counselor, and a site facilitator for 21st Century. Here with him tonight is his wife, Janaea Fuller. Please stand. His parents, Adrian Fuller Sr., his mother, Adriana Fuller, and his grandmother, Doris Gordon, and his son, Adrian Fuller III. Dr. Griffin was Mr. Fuller's principal when he was a student in high school. And Mrs. Fuller also works with Seminole County Public Schools, so congratulations.
And elementary school is welcoming another new administrator, Mr. Keith Erickson. Keith is the new assistant principal at Idlewild Elementary. He got the job on Wednesday and showed up for the first day of school on Thursday. Keith has worked at Lowell Elementary as a classroom teacher, technology facilitator, and instructional coach for 11 years. He has a bachelor's and master's degree from the University of Central Florida, and he's currently working on a doctorate at the University of Central Florida. His family members here tonight are his wife, Heather Erickson, son, Jack Erickson, and Luke Erickson. Come on down. Also with him tonight are his new principal, Miss Logston, and his previous principal, Miss Nicholas from Lair Elementary. And congratulations to you guys, and thank you. And Keith told me his wife used to teach at Idlewild, so he's going back home. Congratulations, Keith. Welcome.
Dr. Griffith, school board members, we have two new members of our high school administrative team to introduce tonight. First, Ms. Tanya Thompson, assistant principal, Lake Howell High School. Ms. Thompson comes to Lake Howell High School by the way of Lake Mary High School, where most recently she was the behavior interventionist. Prior to being the behavior interventionist, Ms. Thompson taught Honors English 4, AP Lit, as well as College Prep English 4. Ms. Thompson has earned many awards and recognition throughout her teaching career, and in 2014 was Lake Mary High School's Teacher of the Year. Educationally, Ms. Thompson earned her bachelor's in English at Valdosta State University. She also completed postgraduate work at Stetson University Law and at Exeter College in Oxford, England, where once again she studied English Lit. Finally, Ms. Thompson earned her master's degree in educational leadership from American College. Welcome our newest Silver Hawk to the nest. With her tonight, please stand up and be recognized, her husband, Cecil Thompson, and in the back, Lake Howell Principal, Mr. Mike Kotkin. Also tonight, new administrator, Mr. Jacob Jarzinka, assistant principal, Winter Springs High School. Jacob comes to Winter Springs High School by way of Oviedo High School, where he most recently was athletic director and testing coordinator. Prior to being the athletic director and testing coordinator, Mr. Jarzinka taught Algebra 1, Liberal Arts Math, and as well, he taught physical education. While teaching, he also coached football, wrestling, and weightlifting, both at Lake Howell and Oviedo High Schools. Educationally, Mr. Jarzinka earned his bachelor's in management at the University of Phoenix and his master's in educational leadership from the American College of Education. We are excited to welcome Mr. Jarzinka as the newest member of Bear Nation. With him in attendance tonight, his wife Beth, daughter Abilene, and son Jonah, as well as Winter Springs principal, Mr. Pete Gaffney. Also, mother-in-law Cheryl Nicholas is in the back. Stand up, be recognized.
Good evening, Dr. Griffin and board members. I'm pleased to introduce you to the newest member of the ePathways Facilitator team, Mrs. Paula Hagan. Paula is coming to Seminole County Public Schools from the DeSoto Independent School District in Texas, where she was most recently their project-based learning coordinator. Prior to that time was an elementary instructional coordinator, and came out of the classroom with 10 years of elementary teaching experience in Ohio and Texas, has a degree in early childhood education and a graduate degree in ed leadership, and we're excited to have her on board here at the district. Congratulations. Paul is joined tonight by her husband, Aaron, and her daughter, Florence.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Griffin. It's my pleasure to introduce to you some new members of our Dining Services leadership team. So tonight I'm going to start with Danica Whipper. Danica is currently our restaurant manager at Sable Point. She previously worked for Volusia County Public Schools. She was a chef with Marriott Resort and Spa in Fort Lauderdale. She's also a chef with Disney's Vero Beach Resort. She has her bachelor's degree in food service management from Johnson & Wales University and her associate in science degree in culinary arts for Johnson & Wales. Also like to introduce you tonight is Kara Baker. Kara is presently our restaurant manager at Heathrow Elementary. She has been the bakery and deli manager for Super Target for the past 16 years. So if you've been to Sanford Super Target, she's been there. She has an associate in science degree in culinary management. I'd like to introduce tonight as well is Taylor Thorpe. Taylor is currently our restaurant manager at Wekiva Elementary. Taylor was previously the director of sales and marketing for a USS agency, account executive for Worldwide Express. He was a manager for Citrus Restaurant in Orlando. He's been a manager with Tijuana Flats. He has his bachelor's degree in hospitality management from the Rosen College of Hospitality from UCF. I'd like to introduce tonight, sorry, I've got a bunch of them tonight, sorry. Salah Ismail. Salah is currently a dining services district manager. He was previously a general manager for Pollo Tropical. He also served as general manager for the Crystal Company, has been a store manager for A&M Footwear. He was head of HR relations for Qatar National Bank. He holds a bachelor's degree in law from Cairo University, and he has a certificate of HR management from the College of North Atlantic, Qatar. So welcome back. I'd like to also introduce tonight is Jim McGonigal. Jim is also a dining services district manager. Previously, Jim was director of operations for Joe's Crab Shack, overseeing operations in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, and Texas. He also was general manager of Hard Rock International, and previously he was area operations manager for O'Charlie's Incorporation. Jim has a bachelor's degree in business communications from DePaul University. Welcome.
Restaurants.
We're all talking about the potluck that must be going on out at dining service. This must be some seriously good food.
Madam Chair, at this time, we're going to have our executive directors give a quick back-to-school report. and as well as Mr. Rinaldi.
The happenings at the elementary level, we're very excited. As of day 4 for school, our K-5 enrollment is at 27,801 students.
Wow.
So we're excited about that. Our VPK enrollment, day 4, is 860 VPK students. We're at 93% capacity. Our Kids Zone and Beyond, formerly known as Extended Day, we are at 2,994 students. Our newly implemented middle school program, we have 162 students enrolled with the combination of morning, afternoon enrollment. Just a little bit of an update. We are still in the progress of completing construction projects at Wekiva Elementary and Hamilton Elementary School. Those buildings look beautiful. Again, we are not complete, but things are coming along fine, so we're very, very excited, and I'm sure there'll be information when those are completed. So if you haven't visited, take the time to stop by. We're very excited. Also took the time to welcome a couple of our new principals as we did our visits the first day. Castleberry Elementary School, Keith Elementary School, and Midway Elementary School have new elementary school principals. Transportation issues were minimal. A couple of bus issues, kids, wrong bus, late buses, late changes by parents, but all in all, it was wonderful. All the kids were fed on day 1, and they all went home safely.
Fabulous.
What more can you ask for?
So I know that you know this, but just to say thank you that every one of our 37 elementary schools was visited by someone in our cabinet, and we want to thank them for taking the time to go and visit their schools. They had great reports when we talked about it last Thursday. And also I want to thank the district level support, our teachers on assignment and other staff that went to schools to help out, you know, with enrolling students, but also even in the classroom. And so we had a great first day because we really helped everyone that needed help and got the resources where they need to be. We also have 2 principals who were flip-flopped and changed places just right before school started, but they are settled in and things were going well at their schools. Of course, we had the Longwood reopening where you all rang the bell. I had a chance to go through the classrooms beforehand with Ms. Sanchez, and things were looking great. You'd never know that they just moved in the day before with their things. I'd also like to compliment our facilities and maintenance people because the schools look beautiful. We complimented and noticed the floors. We know there's a lot of floor waxing going on probably like at midnight the night before, but it looked great. And also thanks to Kim Dove for going out with some emergency situations and taking care of things. And then also dining services. And I'm just saying this from personal experience. My grandson, who is in 6th grade at Rock Lake, told me the food is delicious. That's my report.
Good evening, Dr. Griffin and school board members. School year 2017-18, middle school started off the year unleashing their super leaders' powers. Wow, did we see that on Thursday and Friday of last week. All schools were visited by cabinet members and school board members on the first day of school. Second day visits was by myself and school board members to the 3 schools who had changes in principal leadership, as well as South Seminole. Everyone was hard at work creating strong student-friendly cultures through the power of safety, relationships, and student achievement. Power of safety, evidence was noted through observations of sparkling facilities, thank you to Joe and his team, great lunch and class transition procedures, strong organization, visible staff and teachers for supervision and guidance. Transportation and dining services was well organized, and again, I too heard 6th graders coming up and saying, wow, the food is great in middle school, so thank you to dining services. Power of relationships, evidence was noted through observation of positive student interactions, excited, engaged, and positive teachers. I couldn't tell the new teachers from the veterans. Teachers making connection with students, relationship building, especially I want to give a shout out to the SROs. They were building relationships at lunch, walking the campus. School-wide and class expectations were being set, and the students began goal setting the first day, so I was excited to see that. Power of achievement. Evidence was noted through observations of structures being established for programs such as iReady and Achieve 3000. Flexible seating to keep students engaged in learning. Data room locations were already being established. Great common boards, which were student-friendly. And then literacy-rich classrooms, which I thought was great, so students had a positive environment. Middle school got off to an awesome start, so thank you to SCPS students, great faculties, parents, and everybody. Middle school is ready to ignite learning so that we can reach our 1 year's growth in 1 year's time.
Good evening. Just like my counterparts, high schools had a great start to the year. We visited 9 high schools. I had the privilege of Ubering Dr. Griffin and Ms. Lockhart around on Thursday. And it was kind of a whirlwind visit, but we did get all 9 high schools in. We started at Seminole High School at 7:15, and believe it or not, when we got to Seminole High School, students were in classes. And I've worked at that school, as you know. That is an accomplishment in itself to get 3,300 students in classes at 7:15, 7:20. We got to see the new principals at their new locations in action, Dr. Reynolds at Lake Mary, Mr. Cochran at Lake Howell, and of course, Mr. Gaffney, who was here earlier at Winter Springs High School. We saw the Lyman High School Sci-Hi classroom, and as you know, we have it at 3 locations, Seminole, Lake Mary, and Lyman. If you get a chance, if you haven't seen those rooms, the pictures don't do it justice. You've got to see the rooms. They're fantastic. Students were in classes, and learning was taking place. I made the comment to the principals as I was talking to them. It felt like it was the middle of the second 9 weeks. It had no feel like a beginning of school, except the students were a little tired. But they actually looked like they were anxious to be there. And I asked some of them, aren't you glad you're back and get to see your friends? And they said yes. So the body will get used to getting up early. We actually, at Haggerty High School, walked in, and a teacher was reviewing the code red drill instructions on the first day of school, and Captain Francis was beaming from ear to ear about that. So, the amazing thing is, at the high school levels, as in the other levels, we have so many programs of emphasis, so many magnet programs. The things that have to happen to get up to August 10th, and give Choices a lot of credit for students to be notified that they're going cross-county to schools, and then you go to the schools and everybody's in classrooms and everybody's learning. You know, the machine that was in motion to make that happen is just incredible. I can honestly say this is the 4th day of school. We've really had no major issues reported at the schools, and everything's running smoothly.
Fabulous.
Good evening, Dr. Griffin and board members. I'm going to, you're going to go, okay, gotcha. Okay, thanks. I'm going to go over and give you the status of the programming that we're doing right now for Lake Brantley High School, the replacement of Building 5, as well as the renovation and remodeling of Building 3 and 4. To give you a little bit of an overview, budget-wise, we've got the funding for this project spread over 3 years. It's a total of a $24 million project. This year, we're doing programming and some select site work. We've got $2.4 million budgeted. Next year is the big year where we'll be actually constructing Building 5, so we've got $15.1 million budgeted for that year. And then the final year is when we renovate and remodel Building 3 and 4, which are the auditorium and the dining building, and we've got $6.5 million set aside for that. From a standpoint of a project scope, obviously the big monkey here is the building number 5, and it's something that we're really working hard. Right now, you have in today's package the Castaldi analysis, which is the analysis we do for the state to prove to the state from a business standpoint that it's cheaper to tear this building down and reconstruct new as opposed to renovate. And what we determined was it would be a little bit over $17 million to renovate and $15.1 million to construct new. So we'll be submitting that to the state later this week, and hopefully they agree with our analysis. Building number 5 is a 2-story building of about 64,000 square feet. We're using the model of the classroom buildings that we're presently building for Millennium. There'll be 950 student stations. We'll have 26 classrooms, 6 science labs, 3 ESE full-time classrooms, and we'll also have 2 business labs in that building as well. We will be doing away with all of the portable classrooms that are on campus. So we'll be taking away 14 portable classrooms from the site. We'll be providing new tennis courts, and we'll be providing new parking. Buildings 3 and 4, I'll go into a little bit more detail later on and show you some images on how we see the auditorium coming about. From the standpoint, this is our existing site. As you can see, Building 5 sits right in the middle of the campus. Buildings 3 and 4 are immediately to the right there on the east side. What we'll be doing is we'll be actually be keeping Building 5 up and running, and we'll be building new Building 5 immediately to the north behind it. Next summer, we'll also be doing the tennis courts, and we'll be updating their 100-yard training field that they presently have, so that when we actually start construction, we should not lose any time in regards to the tennis program as well. So as you can see, building number 3 will be constructed. The next step is actually demolishing building number 5, and as you can see, the yellow outline is actually the outlay. Item number 1, so we'll have an open courtyard there. Item 2 is additional parking that we'll be providing, and item 3 is we'll be providing a dining courtyard as well there. So those are the steps that we're seeing right now in regards to the construction of building 5. In regards to what we're doing with buildings 3 and 4, dining and kitchen, building-wide, we're going to be upgrading the HVAC system, the heating, ventilation, and cooling system, and we will be doing some work at the central plant with their chillers as well. In regards to the kitchen, we'll be renovating and reconfiguring the serving lines, replacing the freezer coolers, upgrading the ventilation hood system, and increasing the area for prep space. Dining will have new flooring, new lighting, new ceiling, all new finishes internally, and staff dining will be doing new ceilings and finishes there as well. In regards to the auditorium and lobby, which is really the most extensive work from a renovation standpoint. In the lobby area, we'll be providing new flooring and lighting and new ceiling and finishes, so we'll be completely dressing out that lobby. We have existing restrooms. We'll be bringing those up to ADA compliant, new flooring, new lighting in those, ceilings and finishes as well, so we'll be completely redoing the restrooms. In the auditorium, we're going to be enhancing the acoustics, and I'll show you some of the things that we're doing there on the next slide. New sound, new video systems, new flooring, house lighting, new ceiling and finishes, and new seating in the auditorium space. On the stage, we're going to be redoing the stage floor, new theatrical lighting overhead, and new ceiling and finishes and lighting in general in the dressing rooms as well. Okay, in regards to the image that we're looking at, on the left side is where we are today with the existing hard ceiling. On the right side is what we're looking at. It's very similar to what we've done with the New Millennium and some of the other high schools, going to clouds, redoing the seating, and absolutely redoing the finish, and actually doing a study acoustically on what the best acoustical elements that we can bring in both soft and hard surfaces to make the space shine from an acoustical standpoint as well. That's where we are, and we're moving forward.
Thank you. It's going to be beautiful.
All right, fantastic. Thank you all. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I think we're moving on to student discipline hearings.
And I don't think we had any, so we're...
All right. A good sign. All right. Tonight, I only have one form for public comment. If there's anybody else that would like to address the board, there are comment forms on the back table. We'd be happy to hear from you. But tonight, I'll go ahead and call Mr. Dan Smith. And Mr. Smith, you've been with us before, so you know the routine. Just if you would state your name and address for the record. Happy to hear what you have to share.
My name and address? All right. My name is Daniel
Benjamin Smith. I reside at 528 South Longview Place, Longwood, Florida, in Longwood, Florida. I'm a resident and a employee of Seminole County Schools.
Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. All right, well, bear with me. My name is Dan Smith. All right. I'm a high school teacher at Lake Brantley High School. I am a parent of two Seminole County graduates, Lyman High School class of 2011 and class of 2014. They don't yet appreciate the education they received in Seminole County. I think they will someday, as I did years later. And although you may not realize it, based on my periodic complaints, I do enjoy teaching. I really do. And I'm always grateful to work for Seminole County Public Schools from many of the other places that I've been to. But I'm here speaking tonight to let you know that I am bothered by the decision to eliminate high school teacher plan time on October 11, 2017 of this year in order to provide every student their PSAT, SAT test on that day, the high school testing day, as you know. As a former member of the bargaining team for the Seminole Educators Association, I'm more than familiar with our agreement, our contract, of the 137-page document that we have and we continue to abide by and uphold. So I'm saddened when not just a minor violation, but a systematic violation of said rights just goes through without any notification. Specifically, I'm referring to as Article 10, Section 4B, which states, and this is a Wednesday, early release Wednesdays will not be substituted for secondary planning time unless there's a contractual deviation agreement between both parties, principal, CIT, building committee, staff development, etc. at all, okay? I feel very particular about our contract, and I don't feel that the right should just be given away systematically. I think it is important to uphold, and I think that you have a moral obligation to uphold the terms of this agreement. So therefore, I'm simply asking you to consider the decision not to violate the teachers' rights, and please meet again and decide what to do with these 1,400 teachers. Thank you very much.
Mr. Godrow, could you comment on that?
Yes, and if you don't mind, I'd like to bring Mr. Russi up because he also was involved. Just to make sure everybody knows what we're dealing with, the SAT school day is on the 11th of October, and because of the time of the testing, it goes up to about 12:55. You cannot have teachers in and out of the rooms during SAT. It's a college board rule, so the teachers are in the rooms during that time till about 12:55. And at 12:55 is when students are released and teachers are released to lunch. I'm going to let Mr. Russi talk more about the contract.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Griffin. And Mr. Smith is correct, and he read it right out of the contract. This is something that's been in place this is our third year doing the SAT, PSAT day for all students. We have talked to the union in the past, and they've agreed it's been okay. This is not a normal routine that we remove teacher plan time. For this particular event, we do that day release everyone at the end of the day. When students go home, teachers go home instead of staying that additional hour. And that's what we've agreed to the last few years. I did speak to, I know this was brought recently to me through an email. I spoke to Mr. Rock, Executive Director of Seminole Uniserv, explained to him, reminding him this was the same thing we've done in the past. He was in agreement, didn't have any specific issue with it. He was fine with it, and that's where I'd leave it there.
Mr. Russi, so October 11th is a Wednesday,
Correct.
and teachers would normally stay an hour after school, but they can leave with the students on that day.
That's correct.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I have a question. One question I had is, what about children with IEPs and extended time? Do they get that for PSAT?
Yes, they do. They get extended time. Some students will finish on Thursday. They have to go through college. Normally, the counselors do this. They have to go through College Board and register to get the time because it is a College Board test. It's not a local test or a state test.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure that we're clear that this has been discussed with current union leadership, this item.
Correct. I spoke to Mr. Rock a little over a week ago, approximately a week ago.
Do we have anything in writing, or has this just been in
It's
verbal?
been verbal the times that we've done it. We haven't done an MOU for it. We've done it last 2 years, and this year verbally we've discussed it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Is there anyone else here to address the board? Public comment. Dr. Griffin, any unfinished business or new business?
No, we can jump right into the report. There are 3 read items, but I'd like to just take a few minutes, if it's okay, Madam Chair, to talk about the solar eclipse. It's on everybody's radar, part of them. We, like every other district, is taking a close look at what we need to do that day for the safety of our students. So I sent out some simple guidelines to our principals yesterday. And then detailed information is going out this evening, as well as over the next couple of days, a call out to families, so families are aware, just the things to follow. So these are the guidelines that I sent out yesterday, just so everybody is aware. First of all, the height of the eclipse is at 2:51 p.m., but it's not just that moment that's dangerous, it's time before and afterwards. So I've asked that all outdoor activities be moved indoors from 1:15 to 4:30, and that's going to include the changing of classes and whatever we have control over, after-school activities, athletics, and so on, so that students are inside as much as possible. We are going to stick to our regular dismissal schedule, but for elementary, if parents, especially of walkers and bike riders, if they want their students to stay at school until 4:45, we have a permission slip for them to do that. We will supervise them and then dismiss them at 4:45. We worked with Captain Francis in the Sheriff's Department and the crossing guards. After they do their middle school crossing, we'll come back for a second elementary crossing to accommodate the bike riders and the elementary school walkers. And Sarita and the team did a phenomenal job. We had a table full of different handouts and rules and everything to go out today. Parents who sign their children out 12:30 or afterwards, those are excused absences. I understand. Some families are very concerned. They're afraid their children may look at it regardless of what's going on, so we will excuse that. Principals may approve teachers of science from grades 3 through 12 a 10-minute viewing activity if they are using NASA-approved eclipse glasses, and I sent out all the information about that. I've been following in the paper. There's been a lot of bogus glasses out there being sold for very cheap, so NASA has identified the safe glasses for students and for adults to use. And we also sent out all the information from the NASA website. And we really encourage teachers to have their students view it on the TV, the beautiful monitors that we have in the rooms, and now with modern media, I think it's going to be quite an activity for students to see. So we're trying to, as always, put safety first, that we can control some of this. We're going to really, really count on our parents to help us to make sure they tell their children the dangers of staring at this. For an extended period of time, you can receive permanent eye damage. It's like staring at the sun and the eclipse, of course. And the pathway is really north of us, but we'll still have about 80% of that eclipse. So it's going to be very strong. And special thanks to Ms. Beeman. I know you did a lot of work in the team. When I came in this morning after stopping at a school, I think you probably had 15 team members in there going over the details for the eclipse, so thank you. It's just something that's important, and it's all about student safety.
Dr. Calderon, do you have anything for board member comments, committee updates?
I do. As you know, I represent this board on the board of directors with the Central Florida Zoo and Botanical Gardens. And since our last meeting, we were thrilled to open our black bear habitat exhibit, which was phenomenal. And it was all centered around education. And so I'm excited for our students in the future to go through that home and see the bears. The interesting side note is the bears are actually brother and sister, and they were raised in a house in Georgia, so they weren't able to go back into the wild. So it's not that we were taking somebody out from the wild into a captive area. This is the only place for them to be safe. But they are having so much fun that the tree is already falling down, and they're swimming in the pool every day. And so the students, I think, will learn a lot when they have the opportunity to go out to the zoo. Another board that I sit on is our Insurance and Wellness Committee meeting. We had last night, and I have to give kudos to Dawn Bonce and her team. The organization and the zero focus on wellness in this district is something I haven't seen since the 6 years that I've represented the board on either Insurance or Wellness Committee, so I'm excited. The communication schedule we now have a year in advance. We're working with the wellness champs a few times a year. We're tracking their incentive dollars, how they're being used, so they're sharing best practices. So I'm really, really hopeful that we are just going to see the wellness of our teammates go skyrocketing. And I have to give a kudo to our dining services as well, that the healthy food that they're providing to our staff in an easy way. They can order it through email or a phone call. They don't have to spend time in the restaurant for pickup and delivery services, and offering nutritious lunches. As you know, we've all been in the schools the last 4 days, and I've gone into every single restaurant, and I feel like I could eat off the floor. It's phenomenal. And shout out to the middle schools. I was in a middle school today, and believe it or not, for lunch they had chicken and waffles. I mean, every kid was like on cloud nine. It was the best. I've never had it myself, but they seem to enjoy it, so go for it. I have to give a shout out, Dr. Griffin, to you and your entire team. Our leadership conference this year was phenomenal. To have Lee Cockrell there and to recognize Disney for the partnerships with this district, I was just humbled to be there. And the comments we even got from our leadership group of citizens, they got to experience the day as well. I think they are seeing our district through a whole nother lens, and I'm just so proud to say that we can be here to support your great work. We also had a back-to-school bash at the Sanford Civic Center, and we had many Seminole County Public Schools tables there, so I have to say thanks to our team that took that Saturday out to help our students. The health department was there, believe it or not, giving physicals. We had a dentist on staff. The chair was booked 100% of the time they were there. And of course, the important things like haircuts and manicures were also given to our students. Congratulations to the PTA and all the other SAC members and volunteers at Wilson Elementary School for their grand opening of their new STEAM unit. I know, Mrs. Almond, you were there as well. And to know when a community comes together and great things can happen, it was very obvious that day. The parents were excited, the students were excited, and I think we're going to have a whole lot more PhD physics majors after they go through that STEAM lab. Seminole High School PTA is also very active in raising funds for their school, and the way they did it this year was actually allowing seniors to paint their parking spaces. And I have to tell you, if I was to do it, I maybe would do a stick figure. This was like artwork that I would hang on my wall. I mean, some of these kids really went above and beyond the call of duty, and of course the parents were out there as well. So if you have the chance, I'd recommend you go over and see their parking lot. And I have to echo our executive director's compliments. Our bus drivers, our substitute training I got to attend. I think this is the first year ever every single bus started on the first day of school. Come to find out, it's another benefit of our GPS system that they could read the night before if any of the batteries were low, so we could be prepared. And Julie Murphy and her team love on every single child that is lucky enough to go into any of those school buses. So they've gone above and beyond the call of duty. The new teacher orientation over at Seminole State, thank you, Sean Gard-Harold and your team, phenomenal. And it's exciting that not every teacher looked like they were 12 years old. We got to welcome teachers that came from many surrounding counties because of the reputation of the quality teaching that goes on in all of our classrooms year-round. And I have to echo kudos to everyone on the team for a phenomenal opening of the school year. It's true, I was actually at Seminole High before 7:15 and you could hear a pin drop. The teachers and students were engaged in every grade level, I've been in pre-K classes up to AP classes, and the excitement is contagious in the school district. So thank you, team, for your leadership, and thank you for everybody in the trenches, especially those teachers on assignment that are over at Idlewild, and I have it on video. Middle school teachers singing to kindergartners. They're doing a great job, so thank you, everybody.
Thank you. I serve on a number of different committees and boards in Castleberry, and that's my area of residence. And oftentimes, Andy Searles will serve on a similar board, so I see him regularly. And there doesn't a meeting go by that he doesn't volunteer to do something when it's needed. And many of you know recently that there was a little issue. All the schools have food pantries, but Castleberry Elementary had a nonprofit going above and beyond trying to serve that community. And Dr. Griffin, you and your administrative team have helped them to bring it more in line with your vision to keep the kids safer on the campus. Andy, I want to thank you for stepping up to try and smooth the ruffled feathers there, because people had their hearts in the right place, and appreciate that you continue to communicate with them and try to help them. So, number one. BAB, Joe Rinaldi presented, and he talked about House Bill 7029, impact fees, and any construction that we have going on. Becky Miller presented about a gift for teaching, which a lot of the newer members don't always know about that. And then one of the members, Matt West, who is a planner by trade, needed to resign due to job responsibilities. So there is a need in the community for a planner. If anyone knows of a planner that might be willing to serve on that board who does not currently do business with us in the district, they can contact either Joe Rinaldi or Dr. Griffin. Castleberry Chamber had the sheriff speaking. It's always good to hear him speak. Grace Gonzalez, Dr. Griffin, your administrative assistant, I want to thank her for her leadership. She gets together with all the administrative assistants regularly to teach them how to serve the customers. And one of the things they did collectively was help the exceptional ed department this opening of school to crunch all their data. Everybody took on a certain number of student data pieces that needed to be entered. So kudos, well done for that. Children's Cabinet had 211, which is the United Way Health and Human Services information system, and that was a good presentation. Transportation fielded over 4,000 calls day one. They have a very small staff of people who take the lead in no matter what has to be done. They always step up, whether it's driving a bus or assisting another person. So kudos to them for what they did. Served on the RFP for fixed assets, very enlightening, and they'll be bringing us a very good recommendation. I saw an article in the paper, Dr. Griffin, you talked about limbitless, and you've had them come before us, and they help children with prosthetics through UCF, and now they've developed video games for these children to play, and it's very, very cool, very heartwarming. That is my report.
We've all been super busy, so I know that we were all in all the different schools, and the executive directors, along with the cabinet, have been super helpful. And I had opportunity to visit with Dr. Dellinger, Wekiva, Pinecrest, went to Fatigue at the end of the day, along with Spring Lake. I went on my own to see Sable Point, and then we went to Longwood as well. And it's amazing to see what was going on in the classrooms. Even the VPK and the kindergartners, they were doing what they needed to do the first day. And we were there at like 8:40, and they were already on task. They loved it. And I even asked the teachers, I said, what do you think about starting school on Thursday? They're like, we love this. This is great. Mm-hmm. You know, gets the students acclimated, gets them into tune with everything, and they can start fresh on Monday. So there was a lot of positive feedback on that. And then next year, of course, we start on Friday. So I think that's going to be a great start for us as well. A lot of us have been pretty much at the same thing, so I'm not going to repeat any of the things that we've all done, but I had a chance to, Sergeant Francis was doing the soft panic button rave presentations that many of us had an opportunity to preview here and know what we needed to do in this building and so on and so forth, so that was very informative. the substitute teaching training. A lot of us had an opportunity to do that, and I think that was really beneficial because I think we've kind of lost sight on making sure our substitutes needed that extra training, and I thought that went extremely well, and everybody had an opportunity to talk. Sergeant Francis spoke, and what kind of things that our substitutes are expected to do and what to do in case of emergencies, and that was fabulous. So kudos to everybody that was a part of that. Take Stock in Children, I'm on one of the committees for that, and I had the opportunity to take about 30 students with Jennifer Cardonis to University of South Florida. We left about 7:30 in the morning, we returned about 6:30, and we went to University of South Florida, and then we went to Hillsborough Community College at the Plant City campus, and it was amazing. We had a student tour guide. He was amazing. And a lot of the students really liked University of South Florida, which was fabulous. I know that they've been taking a lot of different tours, but that was about the only one I could go on that week. And the new teacher orientation, like we said, that was amazing, and all their mentors were there. I had a chance to meet with the music K through 12 articulation group over at Lake Brantley, and that went really well. Mary Lane and I were there, and we had a fabulous time. I went to the Seminole Gift for Teaching, and Becky Miller took me on a tour and had an opportunity to see all the teachers lining up, even like an hour before it would open. And everything was stocked, and it's just amazing all the things that were donated. Along with that, I also serve on the Arts Alive committee, and we're getting ready and geared up for Arts Alive, which is November 11th. That's our 21st annual Arts Alive. So a lot of things will be coming out with that. And of course, we all enjoyed a bus driver, the waving to the bus drivers, and then taking a tour in the facility and watching everybody doing their jobs, and they do such an amazing job with it, and they're so positive and just amazing. So kudos to Julie Murphy and her fabulous team. And I went to the West Side Boys and Girls Club and helped pack some backpacks and pass out things, and we also had the health department there, and everybody was there, and it was amazing. We had a line. I think a lot of us kind of missed each other because we were all going at different times. And then the back-to-school bash at Pinecrest was also a big hit, and that one was really, really nice. And then just a reminder that the Seminole Cultural Arts will be having their social. This Sunday, the Divas and Dudes, the tribute show, that's going to be at the Orlando Museum of Art, and that's going to be from 5:30, and then the concert will start at 6:30. And they can go to the Steinway Society or Orlando.com and see all the programs and how it benefits our schools. And there's other programs that they're doing too. We have the social with the Seminole artists, and that's going to be August 31st, and that's at 5:30 to 7:30 at the Longwood Historic Society. And we didn't have our CalNO meeting this month, and the Florida Department of Health, and we'll be meeting back starting September. All right, and that's it.
Got a lot going on. I serve as the liaison to the Foundation for Seminole County Public Schools. We have a finance committee meeting tomorrow, bright and early, so be excited to get caught up on things that have happened over the summer, starting the new fiscal year. The foundation is sponsoring the Tools for Seminole School Supply Drive, and over 50 groups have been collecting different supplies for the school year, and very excited. There's a competition going on among the cities, and so it's great. Everybody loves a little competition. I think we have a competition among our different floors here in this building as well. So that's really appreciate all the work that people do with that. Auditions for Arts Alive, speaking of Arts Alive, are October 11th at Winter Springs High School for both staff and students. Wednesday, October 11th, and the 12th, 11th, at 2 days worth of auditions from 2:30 in the afternoon until 8 in the evening. So singers and musicians and dancers. We got a piano player over here. I don't know what kind of auditions there might be coming from staff, but you can visit the foundation's website, foundationscps.org, for more information about auditioning for Arts Alive. And then the Grants for Great Ideas program that provides mini grants to teachers, classroom grants that focus on literacy, the arts, and STEM. Those projects that were in a new grant cycle for that, I think probably Mrs. Sanchez, you serve on that committee as well, and the application deadline for that is September 1st, so that's coming quickly. And you can find the information about that under the intranet, in the Insider. I also serve as a trustee for Seminole State College and a liaison to their foundation as well. And it was wonderful at our Seminole State Foundation Celebration of Giving on our first day of school. I just want to personally thank both Dr. Calderon and Mrs. Almond for being there to support the foundation for Seminole State College. I need to sit in a rotary chair at some of these meetings. I forget where I am for what, but there was such an acknowledgement of the partnership that our two entities have, and I give so much of that credit to Dr. Griffin and to your team. The seamlessness and the importance of that relationship. The statistic that we share is that of the students who graduate from Seminole County Public Schools who attend college, 60% of those students will at least begin their college career at Seminole State. So when people donate to the Seminole State College Foundation, they're helping our Seminole County students most of the time as well. So thank you all for your support of that foundation. Dr. McGee in particular commented to me afterward how thrilled she was to see a quorum of our board members on the first day of school, and we all started our day at 4. So that was noticed, and we appreciate it very much. I also attended the Seminole County Regional Chamber of Commerce Issues Committee meeting a couple of weeks ago. David Johnson, Seminole County property appraiser, and Representative Bob Cortez were there to answer questions about the additional 25,000 homestead exemption that will be on the ballot in 2018. Of course, the way the legislation is written, school boards are exempt from that, but there was a lot of conversation surrounding funding of schools and local control versus a lot of what we've seen coming out of Tallahassee lately. So good conversation there. And I volunteered Dr. Calderon, since she was not there, to serve on the Chamber's Education Committee. So that'll be the last time you send me to represent you at a committee meeting. But it was a great group, a lot of good conversation. Dr. Griffin and I attended a meeting at the Board of County Commissioners last Wednesday, the day before school started. That the purpose of the meeting was to discuss the county's 5 points potential plan, space planning. And I know I've mentioned it before in open discussion conversations, but the question was actually put to us at the end of that meeting whether or not the school district and the other folks represented, and let me tell you who else was at this meeting, was David Johnson, property appraiser, Mike Ertel, supervisor of elections, representative from the tax collector's office, Mike McLean, the clerk of the courts, Grant Malloy, Judge Galuzzo, Judge Rex Seidler, Judge Schott, representatives from the sheriff's office, from the public defender, Blaze Tredis was there, representative from the from the prosecutor's office was there, state attorney's office, who else? Was essentially all of the constitutionals, the judiciary, public defender, state attorney, and Walt and me. And of course, the majority of those folks they all represent a piece of the county commission's budget. So we were sort of the odd man out in the sense that we were talking about, maybe we could collaborate, but we didn't know to what extent there was actually a desire on the part of the board to pursue further conversations. And I will tell you that we came away from that meeting with not a real clear understanding of a timeline or how welcome the Board of County Commissioners really even is at this point to do a co-location with us at 5 Points. But honestly, we didn't have the consensus from this board whether or not we were interested anyway. So I guess really what I'd like to know is if the majority of our board is interested in pursuing conversations to talk about co-location down the road. And I'll just throw it out there.
Okay.
I would pursue conversation, but I don't know that we have a need. You know, I don't see a direct benefit. I read the paper that we got today, the 27 pages or whatever it was, the document. Very, very vague.
It was, I agree.
I would love to know more about it as well.
I'd enter into a conversation, but with our very small budget, especially on the capital side, I'd rather dollars go to the classroom than for other uses. If we could repurpose this space and borrow their chambers, you know, things that would be shared rather than us to make a commitment to build a whole facility. I'd like to be kind of creative in that to see how we could repurpose things, but I don't want to get into the real estate business for the school district, knowing we have a lot of needs in the schools right now.
And I think that was sort of where the conversation, it was interesting, I think, because it's sort of been staff, I think, that's been talking to the BCC members. And so, you know how that game of telephone works? Sometimes I'm not so sure that the end result was really what the intention of how the conversation began. But my thought was that we would do it for that purpose, sharing a chambers, sharing a TV studio, sharing IT, sharing printing services, a lot of those administrative type functions. Apparently they have a facility like that in Flagler County that is shared. So it's been done. Dr. Griffin and I were talking about, you know, what would the use of this building be? Could it be a potential site for Sci-High? Could we sell it to the city of Sanford so that they could come off the waterfront with their non-tax revenue creating valuable piece of property right there?
Right.
Brainstorming, what could we do? Just want to make sure that you all are even okay with brainstorming going on.
I'd like the brainstorming, but I read through that entire report that was distributed, and it looked like there was a lot of detail in what the needs were for the county. And obviously, we're looking through a very foggy crystal ball. I mean, they went department by department as far as their head counts and square footage needed. You know, we haven't even started that research. And right now, our team is busy opening schools and getting them ready, that I don't want to burden them with any undue time at this point, but a high-level conversation I'd be okay with.
And a PS, I'd like to know if it's an all or nothing. You're either in or you're not, because some of our ancillary buildings, perhaps, like you talked about printing, that would be something that I would find interesting.
And just, I think it was even before you were on this board, Ms. Lockhart, that we had entered into a discussion with the county with printing. I spent hours touring our facility and making proposals of pricing, and it was the county that chose not to go down
I
that
actually
path.
worked for the county at that time, and I remember that vividly.
Yes. So,
So, new players in both organizations.
right.
I'll just go with vividly. So I think different, you know, different willingness, probably now. I think that was back in 2008 that discussion was had, so it was quite some time ago.
We all serve the same citizens. I
do.
think the more that we can collaborate and cooperate and save the taxpayer dollars at the end of the day and service them better and maybe have better relationships as well, I'm all in for that. I just don't want it to be adversarial.
100%. 100% agree.
I want
Okay.
to take away their time from what they need to be doing and what we need to be doing for our students and our teachers.
Right. All right. Is that enough feedback for you to feel like you can report back? Okay. All right, great. Thank you for all that. I know that wasn't something that a discussion you were planning on having. Okay, let me flip back to Seminole State again for just a minute. Our team has been working with Seminole State's team talking about the cost of textbooks for dual enrollment. We've seen it hit our budget pretty hard, and I know that they are working diligently to try and find up with a creative solution for that. It may even involve asking for some change in some legislation at some point that could give us maybe some more creative ways that we could utilize dollars, help our students. You know, I know all of us have had kids in college, and you know they have the option to rent a book through Amazon or what, and we've not seen that happening. So just so you know that we are having those discussions, and that's when I sit in my swivel chair. Come, which we are weeing about. The reopening, the official grand reopening of Longwood Elementary tomorrow at 3:30. And the entire community has been invited. We'd love to have as many people come out and celebrate that as would like to. I know it's been a real heartwarming thing for that community to have the school reopen. And Dr. Griffin and I were actually saying earlier today that we aren't the same board and the same leadership team that had to make the tough decision to close the school, but we have the opportunity to make lemonade out of lemons. And I think that that's something that this board has become pretty decent at doing. I think our staff constantly gets things handed down to them from Tallahassee and somehow winds up being able to make lemonade. So excited tomorrow to be able to do that. Any other thing for the good of the cause? No? All right, then I will call this meeting adjourned at 6:40.